Now I also don't want to forget my button right here. The button is the piece that actually attaches the neck. You cut a slot for the neck, but the button is actually the only gluing surface onto the neck from the back. And it's quite a strong area of support. And the first couple of fiddles I ever made, well, the first one I made, I accidentally cut the button off because I just traced everything like you just saw me do. And I had to patch in a new one. And the next fiddle I made, I did it again because it felt familiar, and it's what I did the first time. So it's taken me years to not flip and cut the button off. So I'm out of my personal workshop, and I'm downstairs here in the wood shop and metal shop at Georgetown College where I teach, and taking advantage of some of the tools that I love to use all the time, but it will make it more accurate, a little faster than traditional hand tools for what we're about to do here. So I have my back and my top here, and what I've done is I transferred the center line onto the other side of the board, and I'm going to drill in some markers for when I graduate this plate front and back, and this helps me tell my depth. So we can see up here little numbers there. These are my center line marks with my numbers of depth. So I'm going to use a little milling machine to put those holes in there, and then I can either run through the planer or hand do them down to my marks. So let's get to doing some drilling. Alright, as you see, I've got my holes here that you saw me drill, and I'm going to plane them down till the top hole starts to disappear, and I know that I'm at my max thickness. Then I can start profiling and shaping. Now, most of the plane work that I do, hand plane work, is done on my Moravian workbench, which is right behind me. You can see the vise for it, the leg vise for it right there. And it's a fantastic bench, but I have it mounted up next to a wall so that when I plane, I'm planing into the support of the wall so the bench doesn't move around or anything else like that. So it's not great for filming, it's great for working. So I have it back on my primary bench here, and this bench has a long, wonderful history to me. I got this when I was living in Athens, Georgia 20 years ago or 18 years ago or whatever. And 19 years ago? I don't know at this point. But anyways, I was a grad student at the University of Georgia, and I got a piece of a local bowling alley, and that was my first workbench, and it is mounted to 2 bathroom cabinets someone was throwing away, and it slowly kind of built into this wonderful Frankenstein's monster thing that I love. The end vise was donated to me from a friend of mine. I have a second one of these given to my friend Chris Lang. It's on the other side. It's red and wonderful. But I've added a bunch of everything to it slowly over the years. So I still use it for planing every now and then when this one's cluttered. So I'm going to hit it with my 606, my Bedrock Stanley here, and then a smoother as the final touch right there. So we'll get to cutting this up.
It used to come so easy. Now I sleep till the morning's gone and the birds sing in the evening. I wonder why.
Now everyone holds planes in different ways. Most people hold the tote like a tote and the knob like a knob. I don't. You'll either see me with my thumb up because I injured my thumb when I first learned how to hand plane, and not because of hand planing, it was something else, but I always had this bandaged up so I could never really hold anything. So it's still natural to me to hold like this. But a lot of times I'll hold them up over here for even pressure around the mouth and to control the shavings that they come out if they're wispy like these ones and they like to clog. So then I can just grab that shaving and pitch it out.
I wonder what I live for. Folks I love, they fade like chalk in the downpour on the ground floor. But in my mind when I'm home, I just feel so.
All right, we can see that's our main dot right there. So we're good to go. Alright, now onto the back, the hard maple. I'll do this one off camera because it's a lot of sweating and I like music.
I used to sing at the corner by the store that sold stone partridges for a quarter, made of mortar.
So that routing process saved me a good hour and a half, a couple hours. And more importantly, it saved me a lot of time and material in sharpening my gouges, especially on this hard maple. But traditionally, I thought I'd show you guys, this is how they're usually done. You have a mold right here, this little platen that has these pins on the sides that hold in the C-bouts, this little area of the instrument. And so that is what you would actually kind of press fit hold, or you make little cradles that can clamp this edge, and then you'd use your gouges to pop all that stuff off. They make these commercially, but I've also made a bunch of my own to hold down this edge so that you can work on the piece of wood. For me though, this started to get in the way of enjoying the process. So rather than reinventing it or whatever else it is, I realized that I just enjoy holding these and working them more on downstrokes than force strokes. So you'll often see me holding the platen like this and sanding it or cutting it and using my body more so than my bench. But yeah, so there's all different ways of working. There's no wrong way as long as you have your fingers. So in my opinion, so to each their own. But I like the kind of combination of traditional tools, traditional ways, and efficiency and pleasure. So rather than just focusing on how I can make it quickly, it's also what I enjoy. So if I can take a couple hours out of something I don't enjoy to be able to put those couple of hours into a part of this that I do enjoy, I think that's a win. So let's get to edge cleaning. So finish routing the recess in the plate. Now what I need to do is spend some serious time in here and all around the edges with some files, rasps, and sandpaper to get this final kind of profile done, because this edge is what you base the purfling on, which is the thin line that you see that's inlaid into the edge of the whole instrument, front and back. So if this has any imperfections in it, or is not true to the actual shape of your rib structure, so if these two things are off, it'll show up in your purfling everywhere. So I need to take some time here and I'm going to line up all of this and recenter it. Make sure I have my even spacing, make sure it's as fair as it can be in the boat building world, to make sure that the smooth curves are smooth and they're not having any jagged edges or outliers. So I'll get to work on the vise here and we'll see that happen.
Drink dry, give me a reason to cry, give me some new things to try. Something good and something fast I can take to make this pass. Good gosh, I miss late nights on the wash. It's not feeling so lost. I will go just where you go when you don't want no one to know you haven't aged a day. My baby Dorian Gray, I leave my pain on display. I don't hide my love, I don't cover it up. I need you, I need you,
What I'm working on right now is this little transition into the button right here that's tough to get to, so I'm just going to file that out.
I try and fill up my cup, but it's never enough. Liquor, drugs, and exercise, brand new things and second lives. A postman said solicit murder.
And now we can see that getting close to my line. So then I'll actually go around and finish off one continuous stroke around all of my edges.
You know, you haven't aged a day, my baby Dorian Gray. I leave my pain on display. I don't hide my love. I need you.
So that upper bout is about done.
I need you.
All right, you don't need to watch the rest. It gets kind of boring. So I'm gonna do the same thing to everything on the back plate and the top plate. So I'm about to use one of my favorite planes. This is a radius plane, a compass plane from Jim White at Crown Planes, and fantastic little body planes. Just sharpened up my iron for it, and how I make sure that they're sharp is I always make sure that my irons shave, so we can check to make sure this thing is super sharp. So I'm usually missing a lot of chunks of hair on my left arm. I don't trust my right arm or left hand. So we'll set this little fella up and get it ready for cutting, because what we're about to do is take off a lot of the meat off the top and the back, and for me this is my favorite way. And then I will use an orthodox tool, which is my favorite angle grinder. So we'll get this little fella set up. Now on traditional body planes you can tap the back to draw the iron out and tap it forward till you can get the cutting depth that you desire. Alright, set the wedge, ready to go.
Prettier than Sistine Gospel, baby, it is pristine. Corner store for liquor, smoking caffeine. I just wanna see you in your dancing shoes. Turn me at the hip when I'm in my blues. Humid as a greenhouse, you say, spinning in a green blouse, screaming, crying, maybe I was dreaming. I just wanna see you in the morning light. I just wanna feel you when the moment's right. Won't you nail me to our bed, paint my nails, kiss my forehead. I offered her some red, she said it would go to my head. Spilled my drink on the carpet, I'm buying bleach from the market. I offered her some red, she said it would go to my head.
Now, as a sculptor, my brain kind of works in 3 dimensions. But as a printmaker, which is what my primarily training was before getting to woodworking, I do work in process and steps. And so I like to make things orderly. So even doing sculpture, I kind of dress 1 dimension at a time in a lot of what I do. So this is no different. So that's why I'm addressing the arch this way, then the arch this way a lot of times. So it's kind of profiling it. Some people like to work it all at the same time. Once again, there's no wrong way as long as you have your fingers. So we'll get back to it. Now the lower bout is a lot flatter. It has a lot more meat to take off, and so you can be a little more aggressive, and I use across the grain to get most of the meat off before growing with the grain.
And I will paint you in gold leaf. Stay right there, baby, don't leave. I offered her some wine. She said that would be just fine. And I sing to the ceiling like I'm...
All right, here's where we're at. I've got almost all my dots missing. You can see the little ones right there. That's just the peaks of them. That's what I want. All right, so I've got this profiled up here. I have a lot of work to do at the tips, but this is where I'll actually use kind of sculpting tools to sand it or grind it away. I'm a lot more comfortable with that in what I do.
Don't seem real. My wild daffodil and sweet orange peel. My wild daffodil.
Oh. Oh, all right. Let's take a break time and take off my respirator, so forgive the whole face dusty look thing. But here's where we're at. We're starting to look like an actual violin. So it's got some nice profiling to it after I don't know how long of sanding and grinding. But I'll start refining this with more sanding and then hand tools, and we'll do purfling. But whew, man, that's a lot of dust. So every now and then I take breaks, come out here and play a banjo, or just take a break. It's too much of the same hunched over stuff for too long. So we'll play for a little bit and then get back to it on the back and wrap up the front. Now this surface is super important because it'll be the measure in which we go across the inside. So the inside will have a profiling effect on the outside and vice versa. So we got to get the outside as best we can. So all right, let's get back to it.